What is this Pokemon, dude? It's so stupid. And the deeper you go, the more unfair it gets. On the surface, it doesn't really look that bad because it's a 550 base stat total legendary Pokemon. How bad can it be? Well, just kind of looking at the stats, we see the defensive stat creep. A Pokemon with 120 offense, 110 speed shouldn't be this durable. 80 hit points, 84 defense, 96 special defense. It's surviving hits. And this is where we can see the unfairness creep in, because what's the durability of a 110 speed Pokemon? Espeon, 65, 60, 95. Lycanroc is 75, 65. Our boy Gengar, 60, 60, 75. Remember when sweepers could actually be KO'd and they were pretty much forced to run a Focus Sash? Not anymore in modern Pokemon. And then like the 120 attack, while low on the surface, actually isn't, because the mask just gives 20% damage on everything. Not just stab, not just it's just 20% damage on everything. It's power creep muscle band that also enables it even more on a stat optimized Pokemon, and the signature move, 100 base power, 100% accuracy, high critical hit ratio. If Stone Edge couldn't miss, or if Earthquake had a 1 in 8 chance of critting, just naturally on a legendary Pokemon that isn't going to get one shot by everything. Also, it has two abilities. Upon terastallizing, Ogerpon's ability will change to Embody Aspect. One of its stats will be raised, depending on the mask. Now, it really seems like Hearthflame Mask is the winner here, and it almost gets to the point where there's no reason to run anything else just because of how stupid it gets, and you just have base Mold Breaker. So, the thing about Ogerpon is that you have options. Like, you just don't terastallize, and then you still have a 120, 110 sweeping Pokemon that has like a semi-life orb, but also power creep, Earthquake, and Mold Breaker. Or you terastallize and then you get a +1 while still having like a lot of these advantages. And according to the ability, on switching, the Pokemon's defense is raised by 1 stage, but terastallization lasts throughout the battle. Did Game Freak learn their lesson and forget within a generation? Because Intrepid Sword and Intrepid Shield needed to be changed to where it only happens once per battle, and that's a restricted legendary, but now just random fun little 550 base power legendary. Nah, you're good. Oh, and I just tested. Yep, you get the defense every time you switch in. And the thing that gets me is that not only are you gaining the bonus stats on a Terra, but it's also affecting your moves. So you're getting 30% more damage on top of Ivy Cudgel. It's really stupid how complex this Pokemon is, but everything just leads to it being more and more unfair, and that just happens when we get into the damage calculations as well. So, Adamant, just because like 110 speed is kind of weird, may want Jolly, because now you're speed tying other Ogerpons, because everyone's going to be using this monster. But it's like, okay, you have Adamant, 120, 100 base power move, you're also getting your boost from the item. Alright, that's not that crazy of a hit. That's also why everyone is going to go the fire form, because you terastallize and it doubles your damage. Because, hey, the damage calculation's on it. It gives you the +1 for the terastallization, and then also the bonus damage on fire. And we just murder everything. Also, now we have that +1 into our Horn Leech. And remember, we have natural durability. When I was setting it up, I got to this point and just went, what do you do? What do you do, man? It's not fair. This Pokemon's so unfair. I guess Game Freak thought it was balanced because, well, you don't have Mold Breaker anymore. But every time you switch in, you get a +1 to whatever stat you've chosen for the typing. And then we can also go into this Pokemon's move pool where it has a lot of stuff, because Ogerpon is a base Pokemon that becomes like different typings with different stat boosting and different strategy. So it just has everything, no matter what form you pick, because balanced. And then like you can get Knockoff, you can get the Brick Break, Light Screen Reflect, Aurora Veil, that's kind of becoming common. So like Horn Leech, they set up Aurora Veil, Brick Break. Oh, well, that's probably enough to just KO anyways, because you're getting 20% damage on everything. Now, they just lost a Pokemon, and they don't have setup. and depending on like damage you took, Horn Leech could also be patching you up a bit. Cool. Really, really cool, Game Freak. Oh, it gets even better. Pokemon gets Encore. So you can anti-tank if you want and just make it to where like nothing gets to set up on you even better, and then you're still doing crazy stuff. Trailblaze, so you can like get the speed boost in on Fire Ogerpon. Means you're giving up some coverage, but like, does it even matter? I don't know, like, knockoff probably just the rest of what you need, like Fire, Grass, Dark. How's that look? Alright, so a few things do give you problems. How about Fire, Grass, Fairy? So we do Play Rough instead of the knockoff. Alright, a few things still give us problems. Congratulations, that's the only weakness of this Pokemon, is that Fire, Grass, Core is kind of weak, and it doesn't let you greet a Trailblaze. Because now then that means like everything, you're just outspeeding it, but you can put back whatever you want here, and then you can find the perfect coverage that you want. Awesome. Also, I feel like some Pokemon aren't even a problem. Let's check out the Chi-Yu. Yeah, you KO with a resisted hit onto the Chi-Yu. That's what I was expecting. That's just silly. I guess you have Throat Chop. There kind of isn't a point because knockoff is just better. So yeah, it gets knockoff. That's cool. And if it has the ability to, it can Swords Dance. So you can cut out the middleman in some situations. Just go Swords Dance on the Ogerpon. And then you go into like the normal one, which allows it to have an item, but then it Terras and it gains speed. Also with the speed boost and 110 speed, you can get weird with it. This outspeeds Dragapult, gives you extra durability, again, into your solid defensive stats, and then you're 120 adamant, so you're getting the most damage out of it. And then you can also just like Swords Dance on top. I'm wondering if it even goes like crazier on bulkier move sets, even where like people do something weird like this, because yo, Swords Dance into Ivy Cudgel, also Terra Grass, like you're just getting the Terra damage. Yeah, you still KO everything with this. Item choice, what do you, I don't know at that point. Like, you feel too bulky for a Focus Sash, and that kind of makes things weird. Scope Lens plays into Ivy Cudgel and gives you a 50% chance to crit. So, I mean, like, you kind of already KO everything. But if they're defense boosting, they don't anymore. But also, you could just not go Swords Dance, add in an extra coverage move depending on the meta, have the Choice Band, and now you have this, but also with the +1 speed, instantly, so the same damage calculations apply neutrally. Even though Grass isn't as great neutral, there's still like situations where like, I don't care if it's a resisted hit, tap, because I can survive because I'm bulky and weird. Now, that would actually require you having like max amount of attack and stuff, but yeah, still like just ridiculous what you can do with this. And I swear, if those schizophrenic Japanese players on the Battle Stadium find a way to work Encore into this thing, oh, I'm gonna lose my mind. Because, like, that just ends a game right there harder than anything. Maybe it's Swords Dance, that's also kind of anti-tank. If it's like, well, I can just outpace any tank with this and then just find ludicrous setup and things into it, fine. So we're going to see how creative people get with the Ogerpon, or maybe it is just like, Unga Bunga. I do think there is something with the Trailblaze, though, because, like, Trailblaze gives you the speed boost, Horn Leech with all the other like crazy damage boosting that's going on, like that just KO combos things, and now you're free to move about the cabin and still be nasty. So it might take a little bit of experimentation to find out what's best for you, the meta, and your team. There's enough pieces here to where like, yeah, this thing just like it wins. Cool. Why do we even care about gaining special defense with the Wellspring Mask? Like, there could oh, it also gets Leech Seed. Oh, good. You can find a stall moveset on this. Great. At least the mask means you're not gonna like Keyberry plus that. It doesn't get bulk up, so it's not like the most absurd it could possibly be, but still does like enough ridiculous things. So Leech Seed, Knockoff, Synthesis. You can go Stolly Set on the water or the rock one if you want to. And again, like, you don't have to terrestrialize this Pokemon. So we do talk about the type effectiveness, grass is whatever, but then the Wellspring Mask. So Water Grass, only weak to Flying, Poison, Bug. Because of the Water Absorb, has the immunity to water, which means you can just switch into a water hit and do some weird things with that. Ground Steel, not a lot of resistances. The Hearthflame Mask, since that's going to be like the base until you terrestrialize, which probably happens pretty quick. Flying, Poison, Rock, and then becomes Pure Fire. And then Cornerstone, yeah, actually maybe you just do want to terrestrialize into like a monotype. But like, what if this works in a really stupid way? Like, you can actually just go max hit points, max defense, Ivy Cudgel, no investment, but also just free power to attacks is good enough. And then like Leech Seed for annoyance. I mean, who knows? Maybe you don't need Synthesis. Maybe also like the Horn Leech boosted damage with the Leech Seed is good enough. And then you also have like Protect, and that's where you can knock off. Well, actually, no. Ivy Cudgel becomes Water. So again, Grass Water, not great coverage, but you can just hit things. And they're going to feel bopped by it. Now, I was trying to think like non-Wellspring Mask. That way you don't have to Terrastalize. Also, it makes it to where like this Ogerpon lands on the field and it becomes even more unpredictable. But then it's like, well, Key Berry or Moringa Berry or some kind, or Citrus Berry or something more defensive kind of gets weird. Then like comparing it to other Leech Seed Pokemon, we actually get kind of close. So let's sort this one by speed. And Jumpluff has similar-ish durability, about the same special defense, less physical, but it can Cotton Guard. So yeah, like, I guess if Jumpluff can Terra into something, get rid of its quad weakness, and also just its tons of weaknesses from being Grass Flying, actually a threat. But we don't see the Jumpluff. But if you were thinking like, oh, just no mask, Leech Seed Ogerpon, you're better off just running a Jumpluff. Again, finding the options for this Pokemon outside of just disgusting filth is kind of crazy. And then the fun thing you can do is not Terrastalize your Grass Rock Ogerpon and then Sturdy counter. Now, there could be a world where Ogerpon is so game warping that you run the Cornerstone Mask to counter the Hearthflame Mask, and even though it feels weird, like, oh, it's a Rock-type Pokemon, and you're gaining defense, you still run it as an offensive threat. 110 speed, you go Jolly Nature, that way you're speed-tying Jolly Ogerpon, or just straight-up outspeeding the Adamant ones, and then the Cudgel bops them. The matchup here just gets silly, so I like, it's mostly just if Hearthflame becomes like the most predictable, overwhelming one. You have Damage Threat, and you also have whatever other moves you need to make this Pokemon work however you need it to work. It's dumb. Actually, like, man, how dumb does it get? Because you also have Taunt. It's like, Taunt Encore is whatever flavor you want it to be. Ogerpon just having more options to switch in with the Encore and then just like completely lock out an opponent. Then this one could Swords Dance with its durability and then just take off to a ridiculous amount, and whatever coverage is like close enough to perfect with Rock. Rock fighting is really interesting because a lot of the Pokemon that are resisted by it are shut down by the Encore. Golden Go doesn't get a chance to use Nasty Plot. Now, it can also just kind of come in with a pretty heavy Make It Rain, but then sitting at -1 after KOing your Ogerpon and still taking a solid amount of damage because Swords Dance with all the boosting into the Rock Ivy Cudgel is still pretty nasty. So depending on the grid, like Ivy Cudgel, if it tanks it or like just tries to set up, you got Nasty Plot there. Clodsire, that's a setup tank, and then Annihilate, if it's got like Bulk Up or something, yeah, you just Encore it again. Keep going. This damage almost feels bugged. A +2 resisted hit into the Golden Go has a 50-50 to KO. And that's like, okay, so maybe we'll see like a hit point invested Golden Go or a bulkier one with Recover. But even then, that's a lot of damage. If you actually like KO the Pokemon and Golden Go's the revenge, like, you take that trade. Like, worst case scenario is you do a lot of damage to a Golden Go that's now a -1. You know, like, it actually this might be like the secret nasty set, which is why you watch the video to the end, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, where like this just leads really well. It also makes it harder for non-grass Ogerpon to exist, and it gives itself away with Mask. Oh, that's Game Freak's idea behind balance. Ah, yes, you know the item. Therefore, all mystery has been removed, and that knowledge is power, so it's allowed to be powerful to make up for it. You both lead, it's a Grass Ogerpon versus your Ogerpon. Like, you have the sturdy ability. You could just choose not to Terra, and then your Ivy Cudgel, without any boosting, is still doing crazy amounts of damage. Now, we did say the Jolly, so I guess that cuts down a little bit of what we've seen. But not an insane amount. And then you're making it to where, like, oh, their Ogerpon is Red Barred. And if they're, like, expecting a switch out or something, they read on the Swords Dance. Well, they Swords Dance, you hit them, they hit you, sturdy, and now you've traded. And you also have a Jolly Pokemon that can maybe outspeed the next Pokemon that comes in if they don't have priority, and then you 1-for-1+. But yeah, this Pokemon is stupid, and eventually, like, the best set is the one you're going to see in pretty much every Pokemon battle, and then some weird offset is going to catch you where it actually does, like, Swords Dance or find a weird item or something. So there we go, guys. Hope you enjoy the video. That's how you use Ogerpon. Why?